e ara mai rā taku pai, te pai kōrero, te pai whakawhiti whakaaro, te pai rangi o Party People, ki konei ka mahuta ki runga ko ngā tini take o te wā. Ko mihi ngā rangi ahau. Welcome to Party People, funded by the Public Interest Journalism Fund. Well, it's the afternoon of Tuesday, the 22nd of March. The Party People podcast remains in emergency accommodation at my whare here. We wait to return to RNZ studios. As always, I'm joined by Te Ao Māori's leading cricket expert, Tauhinari, the Honourable Tauhinari, and the only other Māori residing in, besides David Seymour, of course, residing in Epsom, Shane Te Pau. Tēnā kōrua.
Kia ora, don't blame me. I can tell you I never voted for him.
Is he your neighbour?
Oh, he lives in the poor part of town.
Oh. Aroha.
Yeah.
Kua hinga te tōtara nui a Sir Wira Gardiner. Any special reflections, memories, Tau? You got a story about Wira?
Yes. I went out on the grog once with all the old people, and Wira, Winston, Koro, and it was that old crew, and I just sort
Koro
of
Wetiri?
Yeah. It was a great night. It was sort of like moving between me and them, and Wira was such a gentleman. He put his arm around me. He said, "Okay, this is who's who, and you're going to be Minister of Māori Affairs one day." And that was quite cool. He's the consummate public servant. Work with anybody to get the job done, and he was a class act. You might not have agreed with him, but he was a class act, and there's not a lot of people like that around.
I agree, Toe. I also think he was a man that was forged by duty. This is a guy that was a lieutenant colonel in our army who served in Vietnam, who served as a civil servant, who served his party, the National Party, well, his whānau and his iwi. And my living memory of him is Awa Irirangi, which he established as a fine tertiary institution that has educated many of my people, but also provided work for our people and has transformed that town of Whakatane. It's the biggest employer in town. But also what's happened, and just my own whānau experience and hapu experience, is that a lot of those middle class and sort of Māori managers that work in those institutions have come back now and they're making a real difference, adding real value to our local marae. So, you put that, I put that down to Wira and Lane and others, but also let's not hide the fact that he was a very tough guy in terms of doing business, doing deals, and some would say ruthless at times. There were two sides of Wira.
Politically, he was crafty.
Yeah.
He was always at the top table.
Was he a strategist?
I think he was, and I think that's why a lot of people, like Key, like Helen Clark, like quite a lot of people, like Cullen, would always call on Wira to either give them a hand or even shadow things through to their ultimate. So never ever sort of disown Wira. You disown Wira at your peril.
And in his spare time, Toe, one of Aotearoa's greatest military historians. Along with Monty Suta, those books that produced on the Māori battalions and A Company, etc., will be fantastic reads and a legacy for us all.
Yeah. He spent the last of his days at his beautiful whare up in Te Kaha there.
Yes.
And, didn't want a tangi, didn't want the fuss of it because of what's happening with Omicron at the moment. So I guess he was a public servant to the very end. It's actually something to aspire to.
It is all about service.
Yeah.
Service. To be the punanga of the iwi of the nation. Hey.
And a man that was really unwell, and he had one last job, and that was to dismantle and put the building blocks together again in terms of oranga tamariki.
Yes, that's right.
And when he took on that CEO's job, he was terribly unwell, and it forced him out in the end. But again, that was him serving his people the best way he felt he could do it.
Well, because
right to the bitter end.
Because somebody said, "Wira, can you do this for us?" And he would never say no, because it's all about service.
Me whai whakaro mō tōna whānau hoki, kia he kia me ana tamariki e mihi ana ki a koutou. Hoki ana kia tātou, te hunga ora. So let's talk about this hui Māori political poll if we can. So the party vote for Labour, they lost 17% in that poll, but it went nowhere. It hasn't gone to the Māori Party, it hasn't gone to New Zealand First, all these people who reckons nowhere. I mean, what do you put that down to?
Hey, look, I've run 7 campaigns. These polls outside of election year, pretty much the same, mate. There's always quite a high don't know that tends to come back to Labour.
Is it that high though?
Yeah. It's somewhere between 15 and been up to 21, some of those those digi polls. So not unusual. A little bit concerning for Labour, but hey, look at this. 3 times higher than the next lot. And the real interesting, if I
don't
don't...
you just love the way the left really roll
these are facts.
out?
These are facts.
Yeah,
these are facts.
Here's the facts. 17%.
Yeah, but here's the interesting thing, is that the Māori Party is neck and neck, running second at 10-11% with the National Party.
Yeah, what's
so if there was
about?
Any concern,
What's
wouldn't
that
it be
about?
the Māori Party?
It's been 10-11%. The national vote in the Māori seats since forever, since 1967 when Uncle Jim
has been around 10%.
Missed out by 400, has always been around about 10-11%.
Has its leader though been at 12%? In the preferred leader.
Oh, John Keys would have been up there in the day. He was.
No, he wouldn't.
He was like,
no, he wouldn't.
So
No, he wouldn't.
Luxon is hitting 12% in those, more than the combined Māori Party.
But that's also a reaction to where we are in COVID and where people want to be in COVID as well. So.
Okay, is this like Māori, the haves and the have-nots? Are we having a group of conservative Māori? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, I think that there is a growing Māori middle class, and middle class folks and people that are sort of rise up the middle class ranks tend to be a little bit more conservative. I think that's part of it, but also I think that we will continue to question the one waka strategy with Labour, and that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, 25 years ago, I would have said, this is the burgeoning middle class. Well, 25 years on, we're still in the same position. It's a burgeoning middle class. What we always fail to remember or fail to think about is all those that are caught behind us.
Yeah.
Honestly, and it's getting worse.
It is.
I see it everywhere I go.
Where are they voting?
Young people, they ain't going to vote.
No, they tend not to vote. They tend
So
not to vote.
are they our 17%?
But they cannot be bothered with the system that continues to forget about them.
Because
why shouldn't they?
Because if it's Māori Party National or Māori Party National Act or Labour Greens Māori Party, fundamentally it means no difference to them. It doesn't make a big difference in their lives.
He could garner 40-odd% sometimes from the Māori vote. And that was huge. But that, why that was? It was because there was a Māori there who would stand up to whoever was in...
Thinking about those rangatahi, the younger people then, so let's look at the top performing Māori MPs, Marama Davidson, Kiritapu Allen and Nanaia Mahuta. At the bottom, Nicole McKee, Paul Eagle and Adrian Rudawhi. Marama Davidson, she, the Green Party, they often have a younger voting population. Do you think that's got anything?
I think that's true. I think that the Greens get a lot of their votes, not only from the young Māori, but young Pākehā people and young Samoan, Chinese, whoever, who are more politically onto it, more politically involved. So that's where I see that vote coming. But then again, Nanaia's been out there front and centre on Three Waters, on Ukraine, on all sorts of issues. So she's had that coverage.
She's had the stage, yeah.
Well,
all three of them got a really good social media game, though.
Yes.
So Kiritapu and Marama are all over the Insta and on the TikTok and Facebook and stuff. Do you think that counts?
I think it does count, but also you've got to say that Marama has been a factor of being the only real green Māori voice. I know we've got Elizabeth there, so she's going to garnish that vote in her own right.
She might not be back next year.
Where Kiritapu and Nanaia and Willie and Calvin have to split that Labour vote and that Labour sort of prominence. But I'm not surprised by Kiritapu because her personal journey in terms of cancer and her resilience. Because we've all dealt with that situation or have whānau members that are dealing with that situation right now.
She also carefully positions herself on occupations and land issues because she's the Minister for the Environment. She'll turn up and she'll talk. That's probably winning her some votes.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. Up in my kids' kāinga up in Ngunguru, where there's a big issue over the sand spit and the maunga, and I don't think that, actually personally, I don't think she's been very good on it. She hasn't been pro-Māori on it, she's been pro-doc on it.
Yeah, I think also what is quite important with Kiritapu is that she is the next generation of leadership within Labour. You know, we don't know how long Nanaya's got left. We don't know how Calvin's got left. But you know, these folks are 55 plus.
I'd say not long now.
Where she's under 40, so she'll be part of that next generation, or whether it be 6, 8, or 12 years.
Because you're our commentators,
Sure.
I'd like to ask you. You know, of the 26 Māori MPs, do you have the highest performing?
Oh, other than Penny, you know, because I have to say that. The brother is my cousin. Rawiri and Debbie always stand out to me because they have to. You know, they just have to. The ones in the Labour camp are much of a muchness, but here again, and he might fall off his chair when he hears me say it, Willie Jackson, he continues to perform. And I tell you what, I don't know what it is, but he's delivering.
He made the top 10.
Can I look, apart from those, I do want to single out Nanaia Mahuta. This Three Waters thing is really important to Māoridom, to Aotearoa. We have got water issues, and we know this, and we've got infrastructure issues, and also the personal vitriol that she's had to put up with. And the other thing is that she has presented to the world Aotearoa in terms of foreign affairs through a Māori lens. Yeah. That's a doctrine. That's not just a policy. That's a doctrine, and we are viewed differently as a result of her work.
Tēnā koro mō tēnā. Let's talk about the Māori Party, because you raised them. Cost of living is the top concern in that poll for Māori. And the Māori Party is calling for GST to be removed from Kai. Should it be?
Of course it should be. I mean, and it surprises me that the big parties, National and Labour, ever since day one, haven't sorted out a way of taking GST off the most essential goods that we come across, which is kai, which is food. I mean, it would make a hell of a lot of difference to a family of 5, 6 kids. Their shopping bill every week would be amazing.
Is it that simple? Are we making it more difficult? Isn't it just like removing the food items from your GST?
It's a little bit more complicated, but not too complicated, To. You're right. GST is a regressive tax. It's a tax on poor people most. Why? Because we spend every dollar, poor people spend every dollar they earn. I'm not sure. I think if you're going to decomplicate it, lower the GST tax rate.
Just take it off. Take it off food.
Overall.
Take it off
and
food.
I think there's 3 or 4 other mechanisms.
So Australia does it on some kai.
Yeah, and you know what? Part of the problem with that is that their tax take over GST is largely reduced because it's so complicated. Like for instance, over there, if you go into a supermarket and you get a raw chicken, no GST. If you buy a cooked chicken, GST. So it's quite complicated. What I do like about it,
isn't that why the Māori Party is making it simple by saying all kai?
That's right.
Yeah. So then you just do it on all kai.
That's right.
How can that be difficult?
And kai is important, but so is warming up your house.
Yeah, but there are already incentives
for your kids.
Well, but there are incentives for that. You've got the winter energy tax. You've just dropped 25% off the gas. So now the food is the issue.
What I'm saying is that GST is a regressive tax. It taxes poorer people, reduce it overall,
so
and you put
more money. Do you agree for GST to be on food?
No. I don't, but I think.
I do.
Say no. No, I do. Well, I'm going to answer your question, To.
Yeah, but you're not.
We should lower GST so
overall.
It has overall. So it puts more money in poor people's pockets.
Doesn't though? Because you're not taking it off food. You can lower it as much as you want, but at the end of the day, it's still a tax that poor people have to pay. Like you said, it's a regressive tax.
A 2 or 3% GST tax rate reduction has that total effect across the board.
But doesn't that treat everyone the same? When you just, when you're going to just tinker around the edges with the whole of GST.
That's the problem.
Because people who are living under the breadline are not spending as much as me and you, so then they don't reap the same benefit.
Well, no, that's the problem with GST because it's a regressive tax. It treats people much differently because people who have lived below the breadline spend every single cent. That's why you reduce GST overall, has a much wider impact on them.
Okay, the government just removed the 25 cents off petrol. You think that's helpful? Are they moving in the right direction?
Well, it was smart because it happened straight away, and that night you saw, the Prime Minister did this. What I was worried about was that it would be just absorbed in another cost, because I don't trust those fuel companies, nor do I trust those supermarket companies. And a little bit of good luck on the government side, because petrol prices were coming down because of Saudi Arabia's entrance into the world oil market. There's much more to do in this space, particularly for middle-class people and particularly for beneficiaries.
You've been part of government when inflation has risen and fallen and the rest of it. You know, reflecting back on your time, what's your thoughts around the best way to tackle it?
Oh, I actually don't think you can attack it. I think once the world gets into its funk, then we're going to have to weather the storm, and there are ways to weather the storm and lessen the effect of inflation on the people that actually has the most effect, and that's the poor people. Because when you get high inflation, you see your prices rise. So your mortgage gets costlier, your food gets costlier, your petrol, and I go back to that, I think it was a brilliant move. But that brilliance is only going to last 3 or 4 months, you know, and then after 3 months, because the government said we're only going to drop it for 3 months, what happens? Are they going to say, well, we'll push it out for another 3 months, or we're going to put it back on? You know, and that'll skyrocket the prices up.
By that time, we'll be closer to see what happens in Tauranga. Let's talk about Simon Bridges. In 2008, he took the Tauranga seat from Bob Clarkson and he's held ministerial portfolios for communication, transport, economic development, and then he became the leader of the National Party from 2018 to 2020 until he was rolled by Todd Muller. He's resigned and he'll trigger a by-election in his Tauranga seat. Is the timing off?
No. You when you want to go, you should go. Pull the pin and walk the plank and go, and good luck to you. That's, I mean, there's nothing worse than seeing, and I've had first-hand experience of a person who just wants to get out, but doesn't because they think, oh, I might upset the apple cart. Just go, man.
Like who?
Oh, I couldn't say.
Oh no, Nick Smith hung around for he
should have gone. Date. He should have gone the day after he got in.
Yeah. Jerry Brownlee.
No. But you're thinking of people that you don't like.
Examples.
I'm thinking of examples of people who are going to.
Give me a good one.
No.
Well, I'll give you an example of a person that I do like, but I think it's time for him to go.
Yeah. Oh, I bet he's a Tory.
No, David Parker.
Oh yeah, he's a Tory.
Okay.
He's a Tory in the Labour Party.
Yeah. So a by-election is being triggered in Tauranga. Now, I googled and had a look at when Hone Harawira triggered a by-election in Te Tai Tokirau. I mean, it was, you know, he was criticised for wasting $500,000 on triggering. But I mean, is it apples and apples?
No, because the member of Parliament is exiting. What he simply did is he wanted a renewed support. And he went from Māori to mana, where Simon is simply exiting Parliament, and that's when by-elections.
Do you have to have it?
Yeah. You have to have what?
Yeah, by law you do. You have to, by law, have to.
You absolutely do. You can only not have a by-election
if it's 6 months out.
6 months before the election.
What will be happening behind the scenes in Tauranga?
Oh, they will be organising. The National Party will be organising like Blue Ass, you know what. They will be making sure that they've got a team of people, not necessarily Simon's team, but a large part of Simon's team are still national members, and they will be organising like nobody's business.
And they will be trying to find a candidate, first of all, 2 or 3 candidates that they can put up for selection that look good, but a candidate who will do 2 things. 1, hold the National Party's line, and 2, not embarrass the leader. And interestingly enough, I think the front person at this point in time is
Tania
Tapsell from Rotorua, who ran a very good
You
campaign.
agree?
We like those Maoris, and we like those sort of Maoris in the National Party.
But also, she's well educated, she's articulate, and she presents
And
well.
she's got
and she's
whakapapa.
got that whakapapa. She's got that.
whakapapa.
She's got that sort of even more so than the Te Pau blue blood. She's a Tapsell, she's a Morrison, and she's a Bennett.
I saw that Graham Cameron from Twitter,
Yes.
he put his name in the hat for about 3 seconds before Joe, his wife, pulled him out of the hat.
Yeah.
So
Well,
what will other parties be doing? Is there a chance that they could win this seat of National?
National's going to win this. Well, I wanted to put the toe. I want to put the toe in Tauranga. I wanted to put the toe in Tauranga, and Twitter
Yeah, I know, I
supported me
saw
on
that.
that.
Can you imagine me doing a round of stop-work meetings at every retirement village in Tauranga?
No, Jan knows that she hasn't got a chance. In fact,
She was only 2,000
oh
behind.
yeah, but 2020 was out.
times.
2020 was an outlier. But here's the other thing: is that she, like Kiri Tapi, like I've spoken to previously, is the face of the future. Would she want to put herself up because it's going to be a hiding for nothing. I tell you who's going to be
Would
find
Kiri
this.
Tapi... Oh, she's
I tell you who's going to find this campaign particularly difficult if she has to front up is the Prime Minister because of that Three Waters thing, because of the anti-vax thing. It's going to be a focus. She's going to have hundreds of people following around. Going to be a tough time for the Prime Minister.
It's heartland blue, honestly. But let's not forget, there's been an increase in the population in the whole Bay of Plenty.
But
so,
do sitting governments win by-elections?
Not often. No. They are vulnerable. But can I also they are vulnerable. But can I also tell you this, that by-elections are not about what's happening to the local school or the local roads. It's national issues, and it's going to be a vote of confidence or no confidence.
And someone who's really good at that is Winston Peters.
Yes.
Will he be back in Tauranga?
And my view is that Winston, and it's only my view, Winston should front up and actually show the nation that he is as good as he thinks he is. Put your name in the hat. You were the MP for over 20 years. Let's see if you people want to follow you again. I tell you what, I will retire from making any comment whatsoever if he wins that election.
He's been wrong before, don't do that.
And guess what? He's won it twice. He's won by-elections in Tauranga
Simon Bridges
twice.
reckons he won't.
Well, I think it's going to be tough, but I think if I was Winston, what I'd do is I'd run it as a referendum on like Three Waters or something like that, and hype those people up. The challenge for him is if he does do badly, how is that going to affect the big prize?
It'll kill him off.
Is getting 5%.
It'll kill him off.
So this might not be the right time for him to stand.
Yeah, but still,
Can we just quickly capture one other, because I want to carry on.
Yep.
David Seymour, the next year, from next year, every student from year 1 to 10 will be taught New Zealand history in schools.
Yep.
ACT leader and member of Ngāti Rehia says it's divisive and all about colonisation.
Who's the member of Ngāti Rehia? See,
David
what we
Seymour.
should do is, first of all,
He's the ACT
stop
leader.
saying that he's from Ngāti Rehia. He might whakapapa to Ngāti Rehia. He is not from Ngāti Rehia. He's actually from Epsom, for goodness sake. So don't whakamana him. I'm not saying that to you as an aside. Kaue whakamana David. Don't
It's
give
it's
him...
an interesting concept, that one, too. So it's about, as Māori, we own our iwi rather than have it placed upon us.
That's right.
So you're not challenging his whakapapa, but just...
I own the fact that I'm from Ngāpuhi. And I accept that.
So what about the kaupapa? Isn't it all about colonisation?
Oh, I don't know, shit, mate. Look, at the end of the day, I wish they were teaching our kids our history from 1 to 16. 1 to 10?
Well, because after that it's you have to choose your history
for goodness sake, it should be compulsory, for God's sake.
Because each rohi and each school gets to work out their own plan.
But what you can do from 10 to 16 is you can ingrain it in our English studies. And
so the person that between 1 and 10 who goes to whangarei, who lives in whangarei, learns about obviously Ngāpuhi, Ngāti Hine, Ngā Hapu or whangarei, that's cool. But then the sister, they move house down and they go down to Waikato, they got to learn Waikato. Mate, this is left wing, feel good, hand wringing rubbish.
It's actually not.
It is.
It's
It
not.
is.
Well,
It
actually,
is.
Hekia Parata used to roll
I
that out
don't
all
care
the
about
time.
Hekia. She's not the minister.
No, but when she was
She's
the,
not
she
the
was
minister.
the minister for education.
Here's what it should be.
She used
Let
to talk like
us
that.
learn about the general
She would
New
say
Zealand
that it's about
history.
but that we can't take away.
No,
We can't
I'm not saying
enforce
that. I'm
subjects, and when it comes to history,
No,
and
we
it's got to
should,
be compulsory.
1 to
level.
16, you should learn about
ora.
your nation's history.
I'm going to let you respond to. He says rather than colonisation, we should be learning about how science has allowed us to live the way that we do.
And that statement, what he's really saying is that our culture means nothing. He's trying to diminish it, and Pākehā politicians, Māori politicians who pretend to be Pākehā politicians have been doing that for years. You know what? Here's the thing. With or without them, with or without the system, we're going to learn about our history. And the fact that we're even debating in 2022 that what a curriculum should look like is an embarrassment to us all, because there ought to be a curriculum.
He's an embarrassment. He's an embarrassment.
He says that it's the kind of history that divides people into victims and villains.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, we already are.
And what have we been taught by Ngāj Tau? And that is the history of the coloniser. I remember when I was a 5-year-old opening the book, New Zealand
Noble
discovered by New Zealand discovered by Captain Cook. That's just a bloody lie.
You know, that's an untold. You know, I like the story of Captain Cook. Not that he screwed over so many people,
New Zealand.
but he was an amazing explorer.
But he didn't discover New Zealand.
Yeah, but he did for white people.
Well, he did arrive, and we did.
Well, actually, he didn't. Not even that's true.
Abel Tasman first, and then him.
The French.
Yeah, but Abel Tasman didn't. Abel Tasman he sailed by.
But he saw it.
Said, sit on
No.
And he ran. Yes, he did. He didn't step foot on Aotearoa.
He named
Captain Cook.
But what I'm
Yeah.
Okay, all right. You know, but Tau,
Well,
that again
Shane.
is a Pākehā British imperialist perspective, because you can't say that he discovered New Zealand for the white people. You've got to recognise that Tasman was here previously, and so were the French.
He discovered it for.
I'm going to stick with Hoturoa myself, but thank you so much for joining us. Hoturoa. Thanks. That's Party People for this week. Don't forget, you can catch us on RNZ's YouTube account or listen via the Apple Podcast and the RNZ page. Of course, ka nui te mihi ki te Puna Whakatongarewa mōna I tautoko I tēnei kaupapa. Kua ara mai te rā e hoa mā. Kua tōtō ki muri ko te Pairangi o Party People I konei. Taiho kia hoki mai anō tātou ki te mātai anō I ona tini whetū kia hina tore mai ai he māramatanga mō Raurangi. Hei puna.